Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Sir John Oldcastle, and we get to hear from Sir John Oldcastle today in Act 5, Scene 8. Yes, that's right, Act 5, Scene 8, and yesterday we were in Act 5, Scene 2, so we have a lot that we need to cover. But fortunately, most of the scenes in between are very short, and it's almost reminiscent of a battle scene from another Shakespearean play where there's, 4 lines here and 7 lines here and 12 lines there, just a bunch of sort of rapid fire scenes. And this could be fun to do, like if you had a stage that rotated so you could see the inside and outside of the place just by turning the stage. That might give this some nice movement and fun. But of course that all has to do with budgets, and that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what's going on in Sir John Oldcastle. So the important things to remember are Sir John Oldcastle had been arrested and put in the Tower, but he escaped by putting on the bishop's robes and then just sort of sneaking past everybody while they were fighting amongst themselves. And then also that Sir John, the parson of Wrotham, saw an Irishman dragging a dead body that he was then pilfering, and Sir John then robbed the Irishman of all of that stuff that he had taken off of the dead body. So that's the important stuff leading into Act 5, Scene 3, where we are with the Irishman who had killed the person and tried to rob them, but then was himself robbed by Sir John, the parson of Wrotham. And the Irishman shows up at the Carrier's Inn in St. Albans asking for help because he's starving, he has no place to stay. The host is like, well, all my rooms are booked, but you can sleep in the barn if you want, there's some hay out there. So he's like, that works for me, and he goes. And then the characters of Club and Kate enter. There are a couple of people who work at the inn, and Hostler joins them, he's another servant at the inn, and they all just like chat a little bit so that we can be introduced to these characters, and then they go in and have dinner. Very simple scene. Act 5, Scene 4, we are in the same inn, and Oldcastle and Harpool show up, and the host is like, I only have 2 rooms, and one of them is already booked, so Sir John Oldcastle, you and your wife can have one of the rooms, but I don't know where your manservant is going to stay. But Harpool then agrees that he can go sleep in the barn if they will give him a sheet that he can put on top of the hay to sleep on, and everybody's cool with that. That's Act 5, Scene 4. Act 5, Scene 5, we're on the street in St. Albans with the mayor and the constable of St. Albans, and they are both looking for Oldcastle, because remember, he's a fugitive, but nobody's seen him. They've only seen a lusty priest and his wife who are staying at the inn. And then the constable mentions that they should also be on the lookout for an Irishman who did a murder recently, and they're like, okay, we'll keep an eye out for him, but really we're looking for Oldcastle, and they sort of break to continue on with their searches. Act 5, Scene 6, we are in front of the inn, and there are a couple of watchmen there who hear some sort of commotion inside, and then the Irishman comes out wearing Harpool's clothes. So the watchmen now think that the Irishman is Harpool because he's dressed like Oldcastle's servant, or manservant, companion, friend, whatever. So they get on his case. They're like, where's your master? Where's your master? And even though the Irishman is written to have an extremely heavy Irish accent, they don't buy it that he's not Harpool. So they arrest him for harboring a fugitive, for not cooperating with them, and they take him away. And that's Act 5, Scene 6. Act 5, Scene 7, we are in the yard of the inn. So imagine like out back between the building and the barn, and Oldcastle comes out looking for Harpool because he heard this commotion, when the Irishman came out dressed as Harpool and got arrested. Oldcastle heard that. So he comes out looking for Harpool to be like, what happened? And Harpool's like, hang on. He's like, oh, that Irishman took my clothes. So he puts on the Irishman's clothes and comes out, and the constable arrests Harpool, thinking that he's the Irishman who committed the murder a couple of scenes ago. And while all of that hubbub is going on, Oldcastle and his wife come out wearing the innkeeper's clothes and the clothes of one of the female servants of the inn, and they just sort of walk right by because the mayor thinks that it's the innkeeper of Lancashire. He's like, yep, okay, that's cool, we can just let him go. But then the innkeeper comes out in a huff because somebody stole his clothes. He's like, what kind of guests do they have at this place? I thought this was a reputable place. I thought that I had, given rooms to good people, but somebody stole my clothes. So then Club and Kate, the servants who we met a couple of scenes ago, come out, and they are wearing the clothes of Oldcastle and his wife because somebody stole theirs, so they're ranting about that, and the mayor's like, oh, that must have been that rascally Oldcastle. So they go off to find him. So we've now become a farce about people wearing the wrong clothes and nobody recognizing who anybody is based on faces. They're all just strictly going on clothing. And if you do decide to mount one of these production of this show, I would be very curious to see if you want to have similar body types for the people who wear each other's clothes, or if you want to have drastically different ones to like call out the comedy of it. But anyway, so yeah, we're now a farce of everybody's wearing the wrong clothes. So finally, we are in Act 5, Scene 8, and Oldcastle and his wife, remember, they snuck out. They are wearing the innkeeper's clothes and one of the servants' clothes. They snuck out, and they're in the woods, and they decide that they need to take a break and rest for a minute, so they go into like this sort of little secluded area of the woods, a little bit away from the road, and they sit down to have a little bit of a rest before they continue on their way. And it's sort of a lovely little scene because we get to see that they really are a loving couple who cares about each other. He's like, I'm so sorry, you deserved a better life than this, and you should never have to sit on the ground and use the dewy grass for a pillow. And she's like, no, I would rather be wherever you are than in the fanciest place in the world. And she's also like, check it out, check what I stole. And she pulls out some bread and some cheese and a bottle of wine. Oldcastle says, praise be to him whose plenty sends both this and all things else our mortal bodies need. Nor scorn we this poor feeding, nor the state we now are in. For what it is on earth, nay under heaven, continues at a stay. Ebbs not the sea when it hath overflown? Follows not darkness when the day is gone? And see we not sometime the eye of heaven dimmed with overflying clouds? There's naught that work of careful nature or of cunning art, how strong, how beauteous, or how rich it be, but falls in time to ruin. Here, gentle madam, in this one draught I wash my sorrow down. So this is him giving thanks for what they have, but also realizing that things change and life isn't always going to be gorgeous. Like, as much as he wants her to be able to sit on comfy chairs and nice cushions and have beautiful banquets every night, what he's realizing and recognizing in this monologue is that nothing is permanent. Everything changes, and things get old and die and decay, and things don't always necessarily change for the better. He's like, the sea goes away once there's too much of it, and night follows day. You know, we can have a glorious day, and then we have a spooky night. And sometimes even the beautiful heavens, there's clouds that cover them. So he's like, you know, things aren't always going to be perfect, and things aren't always going to be the same. But he then toasts her and he drinks down some wine. And she says, basically cheers to that. I agree, but I'm still happy to be here with you. So she drinks, and they wonder where Harpool is, and they hope that he's okay. And they're like, I'm pretty sure, you know, he's smart. He can get himself out of things. So they're pretty sure that he's okay. And Oldcastle starts to remark that he's getting a little bit tired. And his wife, Lady Cobham, says that she'll keep watch while he sleeps. And he's like, no, that's too much of a burden on you. And she is going to respond with a monologue tomorrow. So I'll see you then for that.